Welcome. This is Melinda Barlow, CZT, Certified Zentangle Teacher. And we've got our book covered, and it's dry, and the inside doesn't look all that good, but the outside, I really like the outside of this one. I like the spine, even though I had to piece a couple of pages together. Now we're going to do the signatures. So we're really going to set this aside, but we need a measurement off of this before we can do our signatures. And I about wondered, what did I do with my ruler? I have this gigantic ruler, but I'm going to measure, and it is 8.5, a little bit more than 8.5 inches. And my pages are 8.5 inches, so they're barely going to fit in my book. I wasn't paying much attention, but I could trim my signatures down a little bit. So I'm going to need a piece of cardstock, or I'm going to use, so I'm going to set this aside, and I am going to get myself a piece of cardstock that measures 8.5, forgot one measurement, by this is 1.5, so 8.5 by 1.5. Okay, so now I have two pieces of heavy cardstock, because I didn't have any chipboard, so I'm just putting two pieces of heavy cardstock that are 1.5 by 8.5. I have a piece of fabric that I've just rough cut that will fold around this. I really just need it to fold up here on both sides like this, so that there's an inch or so on each side. And then I need a piece of type paper, or just a scrap paper, that is the same size as your book spine. So we've got these. We need to make a template, so we know where to punch our holes. So our 1.5 by 8.5 piece of paper, we're going to fold it in half like this, and then we're going to fold down the top about 1/4 of an inch. So I've folded it in half, then folded this down about 1/4 inch. Then I'm going to fold it in half again, and then fold it in half again. I like my binding to be sewn in pretty close. I don't like them very far apart, and this is just going to mark evenly where your holes are going to be punched. So then I'm going to fold it in half the long way, and then I just like to fold it in half again the long way. This is going to allow us to have a piece of paper that has a grid in it. So I'm going to mark my grid with my pencils just so you can see. We are going to take this and mark where our signatures are going to have their holes punched. But we've got our template. So I'm going to punch holes in this template so that I can see through it. So I'm going to use my crocodile, and I'm going to just punch. I don't want the biggest hole, I just want the smallest hole And so I'm just going to punch a small hole. And I love this because it has a little hole where I can see where I'm punching. So now I have all my little dots marked. And I am going to mark this on the fabric side of my binder. So I'm going to tuck these in to the paper clips and smooth it out. And then I'm going to take one of my black pens, and I want to make sure that it's centered on my strip. It is, oh, not quite. Centered on there. There we go. And then I'm just going to mark on my fabric where I'm going to punch. And it may seem like that was a lot of to do about, because then I'll probably leave this on here. But now we're going to punch, and you have a couple of choices. I did this, I've done this with a bookbinding awl and a bookbinding kit that you can get on Amazon, and I'll put a link in the description below. And you get a bookbinding awl. There it is. You get a bookbinding awl, you get some thread, a bunch of needles, a couple of bone folders. Get my bone folder. This one I haven't ever taken out of the package. And it works great. But I need my holes a little bit bigger so I can see them. So I'm going to start by punching with my awl on this side, and I can see those. So I will use it punching through the fabric, and I want to punch and run it all the way up so it makes as big a hole as what's on that paper. It's a good thing that we're just on video, right? So there we have it, with a little bit of Melinda's blood on there. So I'm going to, actually I think I'm going to put some fabric tack under here and tack this down. It doesn't really need it, but since after I kind of am bleeding all over it, I probably want it. There we go. So we're going to set this aside.